We talked recently about common mortgage questions, but in case you didn't know, there's a lot of little things you can do and not do when you're ready to get the mortgage. I'm back with Amber Lewis, and we're going to take a deeper dive into, now that they've been pre-qualified, what's the next step?
Yes. So with buyers, once they're actively in the process, what are some things that buyers should be doing throughout the process that's going to make sure that their financing is approved and everything runs smoothly on your end?
One of the things I always start out with is I tell people to monitor your credit. Come up with some kind of credit monitoring source. Number one, they learn a lot from that process, because if you sign up, a lot of credit card companies will allow that for free. And then of course there's Credit Karma and other places. But what happens during that process is you really get a real live feel of what you do that impacts your credit score. I had one guy call me, he was credit monitoring, and he went on vacation. He said, "Oh my gosh, I charged everything while I was on vacation and my credit score tanked." And I said, "You probably maxed out your credit cards." "Well, I did, but I was going to pay him off." "Well, when you pay him off, it'll come right back up." He called me a week later and said, "You were right. You were right. I paid him off and my score came back." So the monitoring helps you see what's going on. Another guy had his score monitored and found out that he got hacked. Yeah, the good news was he was able to quickly stop everything and regain his credit in a small amount of time frame, versus not had he not known as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the key things that you can do. Some of the other things: do not take out new loans. That's probably one of the biggies that really messes people up, because when we do the loan, I'm going to pull credit initially when we do the pre-qualification, but once we're under contract and the loan is in process, we don't stop there. We monitor your credit all the way to closing. And I've had instances where people have gotten approved, were ready to close, and they went out and bought a bunch of furniture on credit. And oh no, now we have a problem. Bigger one is when they buy a car. That one's really tough to get around. So we don't want you doing that kind of stuff. And as a matter of fact, one of the things I tell people is I have to look at your situation from kind of an old school perspective. I have to document your income by looking at pay stubs and W-2s and things of that nature. I have to document your credit by going to the credit bureau and monitoring the whole time, and I'm documenting your bank account. If you are doing things that moves that around and shifts it, changing jobs, don't do that. Not good at all. And some people say, "Well, I was in the same line of work." Well, it's still a different job with a different company. The other thing is, we just discussed taking out new loans, things of that nature, moving money around. That's another thing that can cause a real problem. I'm trying to verify where the money's at, and you're moving it here, there, and everywhere. So we kind of have to have a plan on how you're going to do all of those things. So it really helps when you watch moving money, not moving money, paying your bills on time, making sure they're paid when they're agreed. You really can stay on the regular pattern you have with your charger. Like if you're used to charging gas all the time, but you pay it off monthly, continue to do that. That's fine. It's when you make major radical changes to your credit situation that it becomes a problem. Oh, and tax returns. Don't forget to file your tax returns early. That's a big help. Also, if you owe money on your taxes, I have to have some kind of payment plan set up, and I have to have payments being made on that payment plan. So those are some of the things that can also catch you if you don't do it on time.
And as far as the don't quit your job, don't switch jobs, right? And then make sure that your income as far as from your career is consistent and the same throughout the whole process. And that's something that you guys will sometimes even check the day before closing or leading all the way up to closing, correct?
We check employment, we check credit, we verify all of those things just prior to closing. So yes, we have had that happen as well, where somebody 2 days before closing changed jobs, and we called and they don't work here anymore.
So even if they switch jobs or switch industries, but maybe they're making even more money, on your end, does that not matter because it's not consistent with the job that they started at when they started looking at homes and being pre-qualified or pre-approved?
You nailed it, Amber. I can tell you've run into that before.
So, well, yeah, it's one thing that I've heard of buyers deciding either they needed a new car, they went out and purchased a new car right before the closing, and that can really throw off or even completely end a deal.
I got this great job offer. I couldn't say no. Okay, well, I hope you like the job better than the house.
Or even verifying if maybe they work hourly. If at the beginning they're saying I work 40 hours a week, that's going to be checked at the very end, sometimes right before the closing. And if their last couple pay stubs don't reflect that it's been 40 hours, maybe they worked less, then that's going to be a potential issue as well.
Correct. It's definitely something we have to address. It may be something temporary that we can get around, but maybe not. So the key to a lot of that is being in contact with the lender, the loan officer, so that we know the situation and everything that's going on. Before you jump and take the job, call me. Let's look and see what it's going to do. You know, another thing, Amber, that a lot of people don't realize is debt consolidation can actually be a problem. And a lot of borrowers look at it this way. Well, I have all of these credit cards. If I get this other loan over here, I can pay off all the credit cards and my payment may be lower.
Right.
Here's the problem. It takes several months for that to catch up. The consolidation loan is paying off your credit cards, but they don't report right away. Some of them take 30, 60, or 90 days before they report as a zero balance. So now suddenly you got the new loan over here and you're still showing the old loans over there.
Got it.
So that actually can turn you upside down in the qualifying and can also hurt your credit score. So those are all little things that we got to watch out for so that our borrowers can actually buy that dream home when they find it.
Right.
A couple of other things to consider, we kind of touched on this a little bit, is not maxing out those credit cards because, as we said, we do check that as we go along. And then the other thing is don't pay off collections or charge-offs. A lot of people think that that's going to improve your credit, and sometimes it does not at all. It actually makes your credit score worse, and you may not need to do that to close. So again, that's one of those little things. Talk to the loan officer. Don't assume. Don't start paying things off ahead of time. These are little things that people can do that really puts them in a better position.
So, and in that case, would that be kind of a case-by-case basis depending on what is owed or how much is owed? And that would be something where the best course of action before doing anything out of the normal or paying anything off would be to check in with you just to make sure the process of getting their dream home at the end of the day happens, would be just to ask for your advice before making any changes or anything out of the normal.
Absolutely. On those charge-offs and collections, sometimes if they're older, they don't weigh as much on your credit score or the qualification of the loan. If they're newer, they might make a bigger difference. So as you said, the best thing to do is just reach out to me ahead of time. Let's look at the whole scenario and we'll paint the picture of, okay, here's what it's going to look like for your perfect scenario, but don't be changing things along the way. If you need to change, call me first.
That's great information as far as, the process, because I do hear of and occasionally see where a buyer might think like, this is going to help me, this is going to look better, but in reality it could hurt or harm the process of getting that home at the end of the day.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely. So hopefully we've given everybody some answers to the common questions and some do's and don'ts when you're ready to buy that house. So thank you so much for your great questions. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.